Yes, you're very welcome along to another Golf Weekly. We are here with thanks to Dubai Duty Free, sponsoring the Irish Open, hosted by the Rory Foundation, which is all very much on the horizon now. Nathan Murphy is alongside me here in studio. Hello, sir.
Hello.
And Fionn Davenport, you are there.
Hey, lads.
How are you?
Very well, thank you.
You were very tanned after your week in California. We're delighted for you.
I didn't. I texted the WhatsApp group to say we won the competition, but heard nothing but silence back from my loving colleagues. So thanks.
We saw the text.
Yeah.
I'd like to confirm I did see it.
No, I did eventually respond, like 3 days later.
Yeah.
It was something, but you didn't enjoy it, or what was it?
Oh no, it was the opposite of Schadenfreude. It was just outright jealousy. What was the pick of the courses that you played in California briefly?
Bodega Bay.
Bodega Bay.
Bodega Bay.
Bodega Bay.
Yeah, in Sonoma.
Does that host any PGA events? Don't think so.
No, I actually played one that hosts the Safeway Open, won for the last 2 years by Brendan Steele.
Yeah.
It's like a really, I suppose we're spoilt a bit in Ireland. It's a nice resort course, tree lined, lovely.
Yeah.
They pulled forth the greens, but I thought Bodega Bay, which was a links course, was way nicer.
Okay. Well, anyone going to California amongst our listeners can bear that in mind. That won't be us.
Was this a media golf tournament?
It was kind of, no, it was done for all of the suppliers for California tourism.
Okay.
So really it is a big golf junket. So I think there was something like 55 teams. And
55 teams? How come we weren't asked?
I know. And so, but it was nice. My scoring was good over the 4 days. And given that I don't remember the last time I played 4 days in a row of golf. So I thought, I'm going to get shattered. But I went 32 points, 34, 34, and then 39 on the last day. So it was nice. It was
no, I know. I genuinely, we're delighted for you.
So you won the tournament?
We won the tournament.
And what did you get as first prize?
Well, this is it. Okay, so every evening...
Why are you asking him?
No, just listen to this. Every
evening it'll have a story.
There was lots of great prizes given away for instance, nearest the pin, all the ancillary prizes. And so when we knew we'd won, I thought, oh my God, this is going to be brilliant. Will we get a week at some 5-star resort in California?
Because if there's one thing you need, it's more trips away.
Absolutely. Well, you can never see. That's the thing, is there's greed and then there's the need for it. But anyway, we were given the prize, so we got the cup. I did send on the photograph, didn't I?
Oh, you did.
Yes,
I've deleted it since.
But the prize was a cheese board, but minus the cheese.
So you do like a cheese board to take home and put cheese on yourself?
Yeah. So it was a block of wood in the shape of California.
Did you take it home?
Yeah, I have it at home, yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Now,
disappointing.
In fairness, they have just brought 55 teams to California for a week on a junket. They probably spent the budget.
Yeah, Fionn, stop complaining. I hope they're watching and that me and Nathan would never complain about something like that.
I'd like nothing more.
Let's crack on. So it's a busy week. There's lots to talk about, and we have the Wells Fargo happening with Rory McIlroy already on the course. I know people don't like updates when we're doing the podcast. Understandably, I get that. It could be a Saturday when you're listening to this, but he has started very well. He's 2 under already. And Tiger Woods is playing, and we have a few bits to get through. We should start with your tweets. So John Caulfield was in touch. Oh, yeah, so this was very interesting. We popped up on a who's who of golf podcasts globally. Can you believe? At UK Golf Guy, it was retweeted by Alan Shipnuck saying, strong list of the best podcasts in the world. Best golf podcasts in the world.
Were we the only Irish one in it?
Oh, I suppose we were.
So were we the only European one?
No.
Okay, so we're definitely the best golf podcast in Ireland.
We were...
No,
the UK, I didn't look. I only looked for myself. It's like an awards night. You don't care about anyone else. But I think they had honourable mention for the BBC's The Cut. Is there any other UK
honourable
one?
mention?
I mean, that's token.
Well done. They have the entire resources of the BBC behind them.
Yeah.
And they get an honourable mention.
I'm pretty sure we were the only Irish and English one, and therefore European because English language. Oh. Okay, so we're the best golf podcast in Europe.
We were the first one in the picture,
which I thought was key. The pictures.
Well, you say we, Fionn. I couldn't help but notice yet again, it's not so much we as he.
I want to put on the record, I am more than happy More than happy. In fact, I think it would be preferable if the three of us could get together and get a picture taken for the front cover of the podcast.
Well, we could just get the two of us and Fionn on Skype in the background.
He's waving in the background. What they said about us, this is the bit I didn't like. So John Caulfield tweeted back to @KUK Golf Guy, said, definitely listen to @Golf Weekly OTB. It's well produced with a relaxed style and comes devoid of pretentiousness. Does it?
See, all of that I can sort of take in an insulting manner.
What they said about us was Golf Weekly. First thing he says, the title of this podcast, a bit of a misnomer.
Oh!
Another one.
Only we're allowed to make that joke.
Unfortunately, these podcasts have been somewhat sporadic over the last 6 weeks. However, when one does come out, I am quick to listen, as it's one of the very best. This is an Irish-based pod from the country's leading sports talk radio station. I love how News Talk is described as a sports station.
Leading.
Yeah. So there is a clear skew towards all things Irish, but this in no way diminishes the output. Ex-European Tour player Peter Lowry, now a regular contributor, brings a new level of insight to proceedings. So they are big fans, one of the very best. So in a global ranking of golf podcasts, we were thrown right out there.
I think that is unfortunate that he has done it this week, because he says, particularly in the last 6 weeks, we had gone on an unbelievable run of about 15 in a row.
No.
And then, yes, okay, any proper podcast probably would do one the week after the Masters.
Yeah, it was a bad time to miss one.
But that's what people like about this. You just don't know when it's going to pop up.
Exactly, we're unpredictable. Like a good golf shot.
We're the Rory McIlroy of golf.
We're the Rory McIlroy of golf. Fergal O'Shea was in touch saying, when we're at our best, we're unstoppable. We are the Rory McIlroy of golf podcasts. That's not pretentious, is it? Fergal O'Shea then says, at Golf Weekly OTB, he replied, is the best of this group. And then he gave No Lane Up a cursory mention. Worth a follow, he said.
Worth a follow.
Yeah. Mary Smith was in touch, Fionn.
Yeah.
And she took the old photo poolside at Golf Weekly OTB, listening to the pod by the pool in Torremolinos. Always wanted to say that, she says. Is that a nice destination?
Sure, absolutely.
Oh.
Torremolinos, Joe, come on.
Well, I mean, sometimes these places have a good name and they're overdone, you know, they're over-egged.
Well, I mean, it is the capital of Sol, so
yeah,
there'll be a lot of tourists.
A lot of tourists.
It's the number one tourist destination for tourists from Ireland and England. So
okay,
not Torremolinos itself, but that whole strip.
The Costa del Sol.
Fionn, while we're on beachside resorts, you obviously made your debut on BBC Breakfast talking about Boracay, is it?
I'm slightly embarrassed because I've mentioned Boracay maybe 3 or 4 times on the pod over the last few years. And I've always said that it's really beautiful because when I was there in 2004, it was gorgeous. But unbeknownst to me, I didn't realize the rate of overdevelopment that had hit this really small island, which is only like 4 miles long by 1 mile wide. So much so that, as we saw in the news, that Duterte, the president of the Philippines, has closed it down for 6 months. Here's a little. I use the word advisedly, it's turned into a literal shithole. In the sense that of the 500 businesses that are operating in tourism on the island, 195 of them aren't linked to any sewage pipes. So they're literally pumping raw sewage into the beautiful blue seas.
Did you say that on BBC Breakfast?
Yes.
You said it's a literal shithole.
No, I didn't say that on BBC Breakfast.
Come on, why not?
You're making an impact.
This was your moment.
Jesus.
This was it, because Charlie State would have looked at me and cut me straight off.
Hey, it's a great geography lesson as always, Fionn. But what I really wanted to know was, so how would they have known you were an expert on Boracay if they weren't listening to the golf podcast?
Well, this is so. I think I heard you guys, or I heard you, Nathan, ask that same question last week, and it's a good one. I don't know. I don't even know how they called me, because usually they use your man Simon Calder, who's the travel editor of the Independent, the UK.
Awful.
Get a real job.
Not a patch on you.
I'm not a big fan of Simon. I mean, sorry, I respect him, but he's a bit dry. But anyway.
Wow.
Yeah, but but in the sense that, so I was thrilled when they called.
That's like me going, I like Tommy Martin on TV3, but not for me.
I thought you were.
Hey Tommy, how's it going? I have to run into you all the time.
I thought you were going to qualify that dryness for a second, but you just said no, and then moved on. So he's just a bit dry.
He's very informed and he's very knowledgeable and he knows the travel trade inside out.
But boring.
Do you know, I always think that if you're doing travel on radio or television, is trying to emote a little enthusiasm for the destination.
This is an assassination.
Otherwise, it's just whatever. But anyway, so I was thrilled, and I'm not going to. I mean, I was kind of nervous. I went in. You're going to love this. I arrived an hour and a half early. I sat in the green room for an hour and a half.
See, I'd say the producer went to the presenters. Fionn Davenport's here already.
I know.
And they would have all agreed behind your back, you're a weirdo.
Absolutely.
It's what we would have done here.
It's 100% true. And I was so I tried to make up for it by saying, I was trying to beat the early morning traffic. But to no avail, like, you're absolutely right. I come across as this over-enthusiastic knobhead who just arrives an hour and a half. And as we know, working in media, they're only ready for you literally when they're ready for you.
Yeah,
Any other time, you're just an encumbrance. You're kind of...
I'd say Simon Calder arrives 2 minutes beforehand, and even though he's dry as shite, at least he doesn't wreck their heads.
Yeah, he's not weirding out the whole building.
He's but also, as well as there is the advantage that Simon Calder is usually on a ISDN line from London, from the London studio, whereas breakfast is filmed in Manchester. So I was.
Where do you live, Fionn?
I live in Manchester.
That's right, Simon Caldwell.
Yeah.
I saw the picture. 9 million people. That's all.
Yeah.
I saw the picture of you with the two presenters. I would say you were a little bit too comfortable in the picture. Your arms were spread a little too alpha male-like. It was a little bit like, this is my casa.
That's exactly the thought I had when I saw the picture. I was like, why were you leaning back like that? Why didn't you just sit forward and show a little humility? You're absolutely right.
I think he fits the part. I think you fit the part, Fionn. I think you would be perfect morning TV presenter.
I agree, by the way. I think you should be a morning TV presenter over there. Because as well, it's, I don't think we fully appreciate it. You've a much better insight than I do, clearly living over there. But
I think
it's such a class-based society over in the UK. That's what they always say. And you can spot where somebody is from based on their accent so clearly in the UK. Far less so over here. But that neutral Irish brogue of yours, everybody will like you over there.
I think Dan is one of the best presenters on TV. I think he's amazing. I watch him
he literally cannot do every day, Fionn.
Yeah, Fionn. There's only
he can't.
He doesn't work Sundays.
There's a Sunday he can't do. No, but I think he's terrific. He's funny, he's relaxed. He's the guy, if I was to set up somebody, I'd be like, I could learn something from him.
Dan Walker.
I think he's brilliant. I don't know if he's brilliant on, I don't watch Football Focus anymore because why would you? But I think as a breakfast that kind of morning news and all the rest of it, I think he's brilliant.
Okay.
If you ever wondered, Fionn, why me and you are stuck here talking nonsense on a golf podcast and it's as good as it gets for us, while Joe Molloy is presenting Ireland's Grand Slam win on TV3, it's that you've just destroyed the Independent's travel writer. Whereas Joe, as he's on the verge of taking apart Dan Walker bit by bit, just took a deep intake of breath and went, no, you never know. Maybe one day I'll be at the BBC, and this is going to come back and haunt me.
He's literally he is literally inside my head there, Nathan Murphy. I was literally about to go, and then I thought I may well try and work in the BBC someday. So I'm not going to say anything.
Final round. Imagine the Masters is back on the BBC. Final round. Joe and Dan, you take the morning shift.
Yeah.
Front page of the Sunday Times.
Well, someone would tweet it. Someone would tweet us. Dan,
what?
This is what he said about you.
At Dan Walker.
Oh, yeah.
Fan of his style, Joe.
Sorry?
Are you not a fan of his style?
I think he's a consummate professional. Now, let's move on. To be fair,
the one thing you would say about him is he's a consummate professional.
I have not seen enough of Dan Walker to have a strong opinion.
Always on the TV.
I don't watch
he's always on BBC
breakfast television unless
Match of the Day.
He doesn't do Match of the Day.
He does whenever Lineker's off.
Chapman does.
No, Chapman does. He does Football Focus. Dan Walker does.
No, but Dan Walker does Match of the Day when Lineker's off.
Not in a long time.
I'm telling you, he was on the last time Lineker was off.
No.
Okay.
The other guy does, who often does Football League. He stood in. I feel like we're too far into this podcast not to have talked golf yet.
Yeah,
we should really push on.
Our American listeners are like, what the hell has just happened?
I know. Apologies. Okay, we're going to rip through these tweets then very quickly. Andrew Cushion says, thanks for mentioning the new Tiger book on the pod. I can't put it down. # friend of the pod. And Dave Tyrrell, what is the name of the new Tiger book? I think it's Tiger Woods. Unbelievably, that name was not taken.
Anything else?
I can't believe that name wasn't just taken already. We'll do a proper preview of a review of the book next week. We're trying to get the authors on, and Nathan has just downloaded the book, so it might be more interesting for us to share some
I've been speed reading it for a week.
Have you?
Yeah.
It's enjoyable, isn't it? It's good.
How do you speed read it for weeks?
Well, yeah, it actually is really, really good. I'm looking forward to talking about it with you because, like, I have all of a sudden I find that I've actually quite strong opinions and not necessarily the ones that I thought I was going to have.
On
I'm
Tiger.
quite surprised.
Okay, I'd take a far dimmer view of Tiger Woods now.
Oh yeah, no, I mean he's not a pleasant person, but yeah, not at all. But
I'm going to speed read it for next Thursday.
Next Thursday is our Tiger Woods book review, and we may well be talking about Tiger Woods, Wells Fargo champion 2018. Peter Gagan says, fantastic interview with Stephanie Meadow, well worth the wait. That's worth checking out. Nathan sat down with Stephanie Meadow last week. And then 2 tweets on the walk-on music from the week just gone by. Emmett Keane, that's right, Keane. Can there be anything more embarrassing than PGA Tour players, the least diverse group of people on the planet, trying to move to rap music before they tee off at the country club? Hashtag Zurich Classic. And John Fahey as well said, the walk-up song choices deserve a segment in the next pod. I cringed at Rose's choice of Gold. A lot of cliches. Favourite was Just the Two of Us. I have the list here of some of the main choices. You probably didn't see much of this, Fionn.
No.
To be fair, I didn't see much of this. There was Ches Reavey, Lucas Glover went for some Metallica, For Whom the Bell Tolls. We had Zach Johnson and Jonathan Bird. They went for AC/DC, Thunderstruck. Patrick Reed and Patrick Cantley, Eye of the Tiger.
Oh my God.
Charlie Hoffman, Nick Watney went for California Love from Tupac. That's just odd, isn't it?
No, I like it.
Billy Horschel, Scott Piercy went for Jay-Z, featuring Mrs. Hudson, Young Forever. We had Shane Lowry, Padraig Harrington, as Shane Lowry revealed exclusively to us in advance.
Nobody picked up on it for some reason.
Beautiful day from you two. Russell Knox and Martin Laird went for Flower of Scotland.
I thought they would have gone for 500 miles or something.
Yeah. Jason Day and Ryan Ruffles went for Men at Work Down Under. That's fair enough. Justin Rose, Henrik Stenson went for Gold, Spandau Ballet.
I cannot believe Justin Rose went with that. And I cannot believe Henrik Stenson allowed him. Did Henrik Stenson not win silver or bronze at the Olympics?
You not get?
Oh yeah, he did finish. He finished second.
So Justin Rose is. It's no wonder they didn't win the bloody tournament.
Justin Rose is just this. He's just so naff. It's painful at times.
Did that list not suggest to you both how literal-minded all these people really are, and how utterly clueless they are about music? It's oh my God.
I feel like that's a bit harsh.
Oh my, it's awful. Oh, I am surprised by one thing. I'm surprised that one of them picked a country and western song.
Oh, there was a few of them as you went down through it.
I've cut out a few. Of the players I don't know. But Justin Rose interestingly said for the first date he ever took his wife on, it was to a Kylie Minogue concert.
Wow.
Again, wouldn't be my choice.
Corporate box, of course.
Naturally. So anyway, they went for gold. Justin Rose won a gold medal.
Did he?
Yeah.
What tournament on the 18th did he whip out the gold medal?
The one after, I think.
Oh my God.
Alex Cheka and Ben Crane went for Whitesnake, Here I Go Again. Seamus Power and David Hearn went for Shipping Up to Boston. I think that works in a crowd environment, the intro.
Yeah.
It's a punchy number.
Just on the subject of music, on the very last round, not to go back to my forays in California, but on the morning, as we were teeing off for the 4th round, the guy I was paired with was this Scottish guy who's lived in America who says, oh no, don't worry, I've got the music. And I went, what are you talking about? And he had those little Bluetooth speakers in the golf buggy. And I didn't feel like, because I'd never done it before, but there was music, we played music, or he played music throughout the entire round. And I was incredibly surprised to find that I actually thought it was really beneficial to concentration. It was brilliant.
So even during your shots?
Yeah, because what I realized is that it's the suddenness of noise that throws you off.
Yeah.
If there's music just ongoing, it just becomes part of the background. And oddly enough, it helped me really relax.
Yeah.
You know, you're kind of walking to a shot and just singing the song.
Well, sometimes, especially with a group you're not familiar with, especially when I started playing golf, you're walking down the fairway, there's some small talk, and then you get to a ball and you stand over the ball and suddenly it's silence and it feels pressurised.
Well, it's what players talk about with the Phoenix Open, why they can put up with the 16.
Yeah.
Because you're expecting it. It's a constant noise. Yeah. It's somebody shouting just as you're about to putt.
Yeah.
That's off-putting. Just before you go there, Joe, and just to tee us up for the weekend, 3 under par, leading the tournament, Rory McIlroy and Phil Mickelson.
Oh, stop it. Stop. Jonathan Randolph and Trey Mullinax went for just the two of us. I think that's a good choice. I think that's okay. The South Africans, Charles Schwartzel and Louis Westhuizen, went for Hakuna Matata. Come on. Yeah, it's okay.
What's it mean, Joe?
Chad Campbell and, this is important, Matt Jones went for Mr. Jones, Counting Crows. That's not literal at all, Fionn. What are you talking about?
That's not being literal-minded.
Bubba Watson and Matt Kuchar went for When the Saints Go Marching.
Oh, my God.
What's wrong? Well, it's hard to know what to go for.
When the Saints go... Like, is that...
As in, when the Saints...
The traditional version?
I think so.
Yeah. Well, they're from the South and it's in New Orleans.
Yeah, I think it's okay. Then there's a few ACD choices. GMAC and Ian Poulter went for Back in Black ACDC.
They went for MasterCard's official music.
Ah, brilliant.
Is it?
Now, in fairness to the White Snakes and the ACDC, it is kind of pump-up music. It's real WWE.
Look, I think it's hard to know what to pick. What do you pick?
Well, you can overthink it.
Yeah, I think you just want something that gets everyone a bit of a rhythm.
So, for Shane Lowry and Padraig Harrington, what should they have gone to? They obviously felt they should go with something Irish.
Yeah, fair enough.
Maybe it's a little bit obvious. U2, Beautiful Day. But where else did it go?
Everyone likes it. It's good.
Imagine if they'd gone with Sunday Bloody Sunday.
That's a bad choice.
The commentators are, what does that mean?
Yeah. For the record, Billy Horschel won. His seconds are a classic. He was with Scott Piercy. They had a one-stroke win over Jason Duffner and Pat Perez. The Golf 6 is on, by the way, this week on the European Tour. You were saying you enjoyed the Sunday? It's good?
Yeah, I just thought it was fairly dramatic. It was pretty close. And the pressure of the alternative shot, the alternate shot, was interesting over those last 5-6 holes. There was a lot of guys hitting terrible approach shots after being given perfect drives off the tee.
Interesting.
So that dynamic was interesting. I actually thought it was, till the last hole or so, fairly dramatic, which is what you want. It was close. But all the reviews were, this is terrible. The people watching there at the course didn't seem to have any great interest. And maybe it's because it's hard to get behind just one person. Like, you would have loved if it was, say, two of the Australians against Harrington and Lowry, and suddenly it turns into that sort of a battle and there's some sort of a storyline, whereas I'm not quite sure what Billy Horschel and Scott Piercy's relationship is. Rather, oh, listen, you want to team up? Are you playing? I'm playing? Okay, let's do this.
It's 4 American dudes. Okay, let's talk about this week, because the golf is going to be good. We have the Wells Fargo Championship on the horizon. You mentioned McIlroy started well, so Rory's there, Justin Thomas is there, Ricky Fowler's there, Jason Day, Patrick Reed, Tiger Woods, Hideki Matsuyama, Phil Mickelson, Tommy Fleetwood, Paul Casey, Louis Westhuizen, and on we go. They were the top 10 or so in the betting. So, really good tournament. The Wells Fargo, obviously Rory won the first of his 14 PGA Tour titles in 2010 here, and won again since in 2015.
Welcome to the big time.
That's right. Interestingly, and we'll get into his more interesting quotes, but he was just asked about, this course obviously held the PGA Tour last year, and people definitely thought Rory had a big chance to win the PGA Tour here last year, given his record at Quail Hollow. But he was asked if he prefers the PGA setup, as in the PGA Championship setup, or what they do for the Wells Fargo on the standard PGA Tour setup. Here's what he said.
I like this one. Anytime you can get it overseeded, I like that. This golf course feels 2 to 3 shots easier this week than it was for the PGA. Just with we're using it. There's a couple of holes where we're not using the PGA tee boxes. The rough is way more predictable. You know, you're not going to get the flyer. You're not going. You basically know how it's going to come out, and you can control your ball a little bit better out of the Rye rough than you would out of Bermuda. So, I prefer it like this. It's a little easier. It's sort of sets up a little better for me, I guess.
So that's Rory. He prefers this setup. Fionn, I'm sure you can feel his pain. At one point in the press conference, he shook his head and he said, I can't believe I'm turning 29 in 2 days. It goes so quickly. It goes so quickly, he said. Yeah. So he was talking about getting over Augusta. We'll get on to what he said about the US Open and the Open and the other majors. He was talking about getting over Augusta, said he was very down for a few days, that he read 2 psychology books, The Chimp Paradox, which I've read, and I can recommend. It's quite good.
I thought Steve Peters, everyone had moved on from that whole thing.
I think the book's good. They seem to have moved on from Steve Peters being a god. The problem is we build these people up into gods, and they're not, but some of the stuff they say is good. And Essentialism, which I haven't read. And then very disappointingly, I thought he confessed to binge-watching Billions with Paul Giamatti, who I do like, and Damian Lewis.
I haven't seen Billions, but you're the third person today who said to me, I can't believe he spends all his time watching Billions.
I think
Why is it terrible?
I honestly think a touch less of him now.
I love Billions. Love it. Paul Giamatti and Damian Lewis, it's brilliant. It's kind of garbage, but it's brilliant garbage.
No,
I've binge-watched it.
It's actually garbage. The first season is okay, but beyond that, it's paper thin. Every scene is the same length of time, which is very, very short for stupid people. And every scene has the same kind of flow. It's a constant argument. Every scene is just confrontation.
So
it's incredibly dull.
Is Paul Giamatti sideways?
Yeah, look, we love Paul Giamatti.
I'm not a big fan of Damian Lewis.
Okay.
I am.
He's fine. I think he's limited.
Great.
I think his range is limited. So, Paul, I'm disappointed. Do you think Billions is good? It's the most repetitive tosh going, no?
I think it's really watchable. I agree. It's kind of paper thin, but it's I don't know. It's compelling. It's very compelling in the way that Room to Improve is rubbish, but it's compelling.
Well, I'm not going to comment on that.
No, it's funny. Because I've been jet lagged. I've binge watched.
That makes sense.
The Aziz Ansari one. Have you seen that? It's amazing.
The Aziz Ansari. Sorry, what now?
The Master of None on Netflix. It's superb.
No, haven't seen it.
But I don't know. I'll tell you what I did. I read it in ESPN on the ESPN golf page where they said every golfer has his share of tough losses or defeats, but Rory McIlroy said bouncing back from his Sunday showing at the Masters was a difficult task. It suggests that he went into this terribly dark place. I mean, given what happened, you're like, and then you read what happened. He goes, I went home, sort of decompressed, binge watched a couple of shows, read a couple of books, drank a few bottles of wine, and that was it.
or as normal people call it, the weekend.
He went off the rails, Fionn. He's lucky to be here.
Yeah, and you're sitting there and you're going, wow, if that's difficulty, like, you're the luckiest guy. And then
to be fair, that's on the headline writers.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Rory's not saying it was an incredibly difficult time.
It's the way the story was kind of posited. And then, so then I love this quote. It got to the point where Erica had to drag me out of the house and say, okay, we're going to do something. And once I sort of got back into my routine, I was fine. And you're like...
Yeah. It's not quite an intervention.
No.
So there's one quote I want to read out because it's been overshadowed by the stuff about the other majors. And he's just given us a deeper... I suppose, more considered appraisal of what happened to him on the Sunday at Augusta. And interestingly, McIlroy's feeling now is that I got lucky on the Saturday. The 65 on Saturday was as good as I could have scored. I chipped in. There were a couple of balls that hit trees and came back into the fairway. There was that one I hit up into the azaleas and I got away with it. He said, I was sort of holding my game together on Sunday, and then under the pressure of chasing Patrick down, it just never clicked for me. And to be fair, that was a point Paul McGinley made on the show as well. We've all focused in on the putting on Sunday. Maybe Rory wants to divert us this way away from the putting as well because it stops us talking about it so much. But maybe we didn't fully appreciate that when he shot a 65 on Saturday, as bizarre as this is to say, he kind of was doing it by the skin of his teeth, and it was a touch lucky or a touch holding the game together.
But I think there are 2 points to be made. One is I think Rory's being very honest in the first assessment, that because on the Saturday he was like, he chipped in, like he wasn't playing brilliantly, but he shot a brilliant round of golf without playing particularly well. But I am convinced that missing that eagle on 2, something happened. Maybe like golfers need they need to make that putt that says, yep, it's there today, and then you can kind of build on that confidence. Missing that eagle putt, and something happened because his round disintegrated from that point on. And it's not just enough to say that, I was kind of playing by the skin of my teeth. He seemed to fall away. And like he didn't say anything about that, but watching it and reading other golf writers, it became clear that something must have happened on the second. That his brain, or whatever it is, that whatever bit of confidence that built up when you start making putts just wasn't there on the Sunday.
All of that is fixable, what he talks about, which would be very different from if he was to come out and admit what Fionna's saying. And if you're reading the Chimp Paradox, I don't know if that's part of that, where you come out and have brutal honesty to yourself in public. If he was to come out and say, you know what, I was absolutely flying, my putting was going great, I missed that eagle putt, and then I just started doubting myself. Something got in there, and suddenly I was back to where I was 3-4 months ago, and I don't know if that's going to happen again. I wonder, is he having that conversation internally?
Yeah, I do. I really wonder as well. I think when you come out and reflect on Augusta, I think it's odd not to touch on the fact that on the Sunday he talked about his putting stroke, the Sunday of Augusta, and said, I can't trust it. I felt I couldn't trust it today. Like that for me is the thing I'm still most curious about, because we know the ball striking will come. This is a very busy period coming up for Rory. The next 11 weeks, he will play in 8 events, including the US Open, the Dubai Duty-Free Irish Open. They're bringing you this podcast, and they're very much part of the Irish Open, hosted by the Rory Foundation, so that's on the horizon. And then the Open as well, the British Open as well. So 8 events in the next 11 weeks for Rory. So, I mean, it's an obvious thing to say, but in the next 11 weeks or so, that will be his season. We'll have a really good feel for how it all plays out. Not that he cares about the US Open or the British Open.
Mightn't even play.
Yeah.
He's like us. He now realises the Dubai Duty-Free Irish Open.
It's way more important.
It's way more important. The second most important event in the world.
The reason he's created headlines, and look, I mean, geez, he's never dull. You got to give it to him. He makes every press conference kind of interesting. He always has something. To put it in context, he didn't just go on an all-out motive-free assault on the other majors. The context here is, for these coming up quotes, is he was being asked about the pressure of a Grand Slam. And his argument was, well, there is so much pressure on winning the Masters anyway, that actually the Grand Slam part doesn't make that much of a difference. He said, the Masters has now become the biggest golf tournament in the world, and I am comfortable saying that. I don't care about the US Open. I don't care about the US Open or the Open Championship. It's the biggest golf tournament in the world. The most amount of eyeballs, the most amount of hype, the most everything is at Augusta. To me, it is the most special tournament that we play. It's the one everyone desperately wants to win. It's tough to win. I don't think about the Grand Slam and what that means. For me, it's about being able to go and use the Champions Locker and all that other cool stuff.
Is there another way of reading that?
Yes.
The Masters now become the biggest golf tournament in the world, and look, I'm comfortable in saying that. I don't care about the US Open I don't care about the US Open and the Open. The Masters is everything. But he's sort of saying, if he put in a for me, that changes the context.
The way I read I don't care about the US Open or Open is slightly unfair to him. I was looking for the audio of this, I couldn't quite find it.
So was I, because having read the quotes, I was like, I really want to hear the tone he said this in, because I just cannot imagine he could mean the quote. Even the way the quote is, and say reading it here on the Telegraph website, the Masters has now become the biggest golf tournament in the world, and I'm comfortable saying that, he said.
Yeah.
And then the next line is, I don't care about the US Open or the Open.
My read is that, because oftentimes when we speak, we leave out words, or, like spoken speech is very different to written speech. So when he says, I don't care about the US Open or the Open Championship, my read on it was I don't care about you guys who say that the US Open is the biggest tournament or the Open Championship is the biggest tournament. It's the Masters that's the biggest tournament. He's not saying he doesn't care about the other two. Clearly, to me, that jumped off the page. But straight away you read it and you go, when you go, oh my God, he's just talked himself into a whole pile of trouble that he doesn't necessarily need. But I don't buy that. I think also there's something else to unpack. It's just like, way to put yourself under pressure, Rory. But,
You've now essentially admitted to everybody, winning the Masters is how you're going to define the rest of your career. That you can go and get to, maybe you'll go and be the most successful European golfer of all time and you'll win 7 majors. But if the Masters is still off that CV, are you ever going to be really satisfied? And as Fionn said, on a basic level, he's bringing a world of pain on himself, because now he's going to have the press conference ahead of the US Open.
Yeah.
What does this really mean in comparison to the Masters? And you know what? I think he's right. And it's almost a battle of generations, and he's more of this younger generation. For me, the Masters is the biggest tournament of the year. It's the tournament you most look forward to. If I somehow magically became this wonderful golfer and you say, what tournament would you most like to win? I'd love to, I know you shouldn't say it, I'd love to go into the butler's cabin. I'd love to get that green jacket.
I'm with you.
I'd love to meet Jim Nance. All of that. Whereas the traditionalists are still very much, well, it's got the smallest field, it's got this horrible history, whereas the true golfer looks at the US Open or the Open Championship.
But I never bought this. And look, I think it's just a poor choice of words. And I think very, very quickly, quite possibly before this podcast is done, you'll have the Rory McIlroy press conference where he clarifies these comments and says, you know, it's just the way I spoke about it. Yeah, but I mean, this tosh about the Open being the champion golfer of the year, as if it's somehow on a different level to all the others, is just marketing nonsense. Darren Clarke is very fond of saying he always grew up and it was, well, the champion golfer of the year is the thing for me. Maybe it is a generational thing, but for me, the Masters by a distance is the one.
But there is a metric by which he is 100% correct. It's the most watched golf tournament in the world, bar none. It has the highest TV ratings of any tournament, of any Open Championship, of any US Open. The Masters. It's my second favourite event. I much prefer the Open Championship, but that's just me.
But you're a different generation.
Boom.
Very good. No, but in this sense, Rory is 100% right. If you're going to judge a golf tournament simply by the metric of its popularity as a TV spectacle, the Masters is streets ahead of them all. Yeah. And on this, there is no argument. And so, you know.
Look, it's not a big deal, and it's just interesting headlines. I think we all went, oh my God, what?
I would say every journalist in that room went,
bingo.
Did he just say that?
Yeah.
Magnificent.
I know.
He's insulted the American people and he's insulted the British people.
Finally, I'll get a golf story, at least within the first 3 back pages. Yeah, it's a bit of that. So Tiger Woods is there, hasn't played here since 2012. He won in 2007. So his latest run of form, he's taken basically a month off, tied 32nd at the Masters, 5th Arnold Palmer, 2nd Valspar, 12th at the Honda. Interestingly, he has a new set of irons in the bag, which, as you'll hear, he's been working on for some time. So he's got a new set of tailor-made irons in the bag, which is what he was talking to journalists about at some stage over the last day or so.
They basically look the same. The back is a little bit different. You know, I really don't care what you put on the back of the club, as long as it looks good in the playing position, and it flies through the windows that I want and the distances I want. Other than that, you can put whatever you want on the back, and we kept the same bounce, the same configurations. The difficulty was throughout this process is trying to find, trying to go with the right metal, and for me, I prefer a different metal than what TaylorMade was using, and also a different groove configuration than what TaylorMade was using. So trying to figure all that out throughout this process, and to be honest with you, not hit too many golf balls and not test too much, because I was still coming back. I'm trying to figure it out, and I want to spend so much time that, like I could in years past, where I could hit a lot of golf balls in a day. We had to be very cautious how much we hit, and so we had a testing process and a plan basically since December of last year, and we finally got to the point where I could put them in the bag and play.
Tiger, your fitness routine's always been second to none. How have you adjusted that recently?
It certainly is different, and I certainly can't lift the weights I used to. I can't run the way I used to. There's a lot of things that I wish I could do, but I can't. And trying to adjust my programs for a fused spine it's been a challenge. But I feel like we've got a pretty good handle on it. I mean, there's a lot of strength involved in it, but it's also a lot of flexibility as well. I have to keep other body parts more limber, just because I don't have the rotation like I used to in my lower spine. I got to grab it from other places.
So that's Tiger.
Who's we? Him and his doctors?
Him and Steinberg, I'd say. I don't know who he is.
Did you notice? So as you're listening, Joe, you'll know this. Maybe Nathan, you'll get to it. It's a bit of a spoiler from the book. But as he's talking about equipment, that story that's in the book about when Nike sent him 6 drivers that were all exactly the same, and he turns around and he goes, "These 5 are all the same, but this one's heavier." and they're going, no, absolutely not. So listening to Tiger talk about testing irons and clubs, it reminds me, Joe, remember there's a bit in the Tiger Woods book of when Nike send him 6 drivers to test, and they're all exactly the same according to Nike, but he has, no, this one's heavier. And Nike are saying, absolutely not, absolutely not. And then they go and tested them. And indeed, the one that he thought was heavier was literally the weight of $2 bills heavier than the other 5.
It's extraordinary.
That was intense. That was insane.
Yeah. I would say one of the things I'd never really thought much about Tiger, but in the book they touch on it, was he was the best at so many things. It also seems he was exceptional at figuring out equipment. And obviously he's a science nerd, he's a physics geek, he's happy to get into fairly deep conversations. And as Fionn said, the difference was the guy had put a tiny bit too much glue on whatever part of the club there was glue required, and it was literally the weight of $2 bills extra. But that's why they were saying to Tiger, this is in your head, they're all the same. But Tiger was right. So I'd say testing irons with Tiger is no picnic.
Yeah, you would need to have your facts in order.
Yeah, I would think so.
When he's talking there about not being able to lift the same weights, doesn't say he's not trying.
Yeah. So look, I guess we just got to wait and see with Tiger. Tied 32nd was a disappointment at the Masters. Shot a 69 on the Sunday. And we're just hoping he gets back to the top 10 form he was showing pre-Masters.
Yeah, he's won here before as well, so he knows the course.
Just to mention Patrick Reed, with a very interesting story, and this is not related to his personal life or his family, although he does drop in. I did wonder in this story if this is like a dig at everyone of his family who are listening to all his dispatches, because he does name the entire family that he's sitting around having a cosy domestic situation with. That aside, this was very interesting. So Patrick Reed won at Augusta, as we know. He also wore contact lenses for the very first time ever, period, in his life, never even once for an hour and a half, playing golf. And this is how it all happened.
I'm sitting at the kitchen table in our kitchen, and we have a pretty big TV in the den, and kind of flipping through channels, and I cannot read the guide. I'm like, just kind of looking, I'm moving slowly, and Justine goes, "You can't read that?" I was like, "No, can you?" She's like, "Yeah." And then, I look at my mother-in-law, she has glasses on, like, "Can you read that?" She's like, "Yeah, you can't." I was like, "No." Then my father-in-law's sitting over there, and he has really thick glasses, and he looks at it and he goes, "Yeah, here, you can't see that?" I was like, "No." So they're like, "All right, well, maybe that's the reason why we haven't been making putts for a year." So we went to the eye doctor, and next thing you know, I can see up close, but I can't see anything past about 30, 40 yards. Everything's really blurry. So I got a low prescription contacts, put them in, and all of a sudden, it's just I'm just looking out. I'm like, wow, you can see everything. And now all of a sudden, Kessler, I'm not having to ask Kessler where'd that ball go, because all the time I'm like, "Kess, where'd it go?" He's like, "You didn't see it?" It's like, "No." He's like, "Well, it's on the green," or "Oh, it's over here or over there." I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." And all of a sudden now I can read greens pretty well, and I worked at Augusta.
Isn't it mad? He's not the first sports person, and won't be the last, who just became accustomed to their relative blindness and figured it out. Brian O'Driscoll, I think, had terrible eyes for a long time before he got laser surgery. It's mad, though. And, he attributes the good putting more than anything. He said that's been the biggest difference, is the greens have just turned up several notches on the old eyes, and I'm seeing everything a lot clearer. I mean, it's kind of amazing that he hadn't twigged his eyesight was so bad.
Yeah, you would think that every professional sports person at that level will be going through some sort of yearly MOT where...
If he's asking the caddy where the ball is routinely and can't see past 40 yards, how is he playing?
Did the caddy just think, God, this guy is an asshole? He won't...
Yeah, passive-aggressively asking where the ball is. You know it's not on the green, Patrick.
It suggests, though, I mean, you're right. How did he survive until now? Or more to the point, was there anyone else who went, "You can't see past 40 yards. Maybe you need to get your eyes looked at"?
Maybe he accidentally did hit the wrong ball.
Maybe that's why him and his family all fell out. Something wrong with your eyesight, Patrick. You need to get this. Stop at me.
Yeah.
I'm telling you're blind.
Maybe he went to the wrong locker.
Did Harrington wear clear glasses for a while?
Oh, he had a few things going on. He's had a lot of laser surgery.
Yeah.
What's it called with an S in your eye? You can have
astigmatism.
Yeah, he's got that going on. Which
I've got an astigmatism, which is why I wear glasses.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that was just an interesting tidbit from Reed, who, by the way, I dare say, is on a a slight charm offensive, would you think? That was quite open and self-deprecating.
Yeah, he was on Sky last Sunday night after his final round, and they were playing him back all the putts and the shots, and he was giving it all that and wearing the green jacket where he's just... First time I took it off was when I got in the plane to come here.
Wow. We're pretty much done. So Wells Fargo is always a great tournament. I love the closing hole. Like, this is really, really
Green
good.
Mile.
Yeah, if you're in two minds about watching this is definitely one to watch, and the field is excellent.
Brilliant winners. Look at the list of winners.
Go on, give it to us.
Vijay Singh, Jim Furyk, Tiger Woods, Anthony Kim, Sean O'Hare, McIlroy, Lucas Glover, Ricky Fowler, JB Holmes, McIlroy again, Justin Thomas at the PGA last year.
Yeah, McIlroy and Fowler.
A lot of great winners.
Was good.
It's a pedigree list, all right.
Yeah. One quick thing to mention. Ewan Murray in The Guardian, who I think always comes up with stories I'm unaware of. I think he's really good. Was just pointing out the situation between Sky Sports and Augusta. There is what he describes as an uneasy relationship in recent times. He says there's now a realistic possibility that the Masters will vanish from the Sky coverage next year. The issue seems to be that Sky have said they want exclusive UK broadcasting rights. None of this BBC at the weekend nonsense, because we're putting so much bloody money into this thing and have been for some time, the last 8 years. But Augusta, as Ewan points out, they make 8 million alone off baseball caps in a week. They don't need money. They're fine. Augusta really values free-to-air screening, and it definitely values the UK market. And so they're not overly worried if Sky are going to throw their toys out of the pram here, it seems. And there is a chance, therefore, we may get all 4 days on BBC next year.
This is, I guess, that delicate balance where we're talking on a golf podcast on what we want and what Augusta wants and what's best for the game. Sky's coverage is a million miles ahead of the BBC.
Yeah.
Particularly around the Masters. It makes it one of the best sporting events to watch throughout the year.
And I love that they go all out. Like, I think everybody really enjoys the Masters breakfast show when they catch it. It is the Masters channel, and it's exceptionally good. And they even managed to, in so much as you can, deal with the fact that Augusta show hardly any shots for the first few hours of every day.
Well, it's an interesting insight into where Augusta are, because the general feeling around sports rights is they're going to be pushed one way. So we had this ridiculous situation, what felt like a ridiculous situation this year on the Friday, where we've Jordan Spieth and Rory McIlroy in contention for the lead, and you don't see a single shot of it live until I think the 17th hole, or unless you have the red button on Sky. And the assumption would be, well, eventually in Augusta they're going to realise, listen, we could be watching some of the great rounds of golf and we're missing out on it. But this seems to suggest actually they're thinking, why are we even showing them 17 and 18? Listen, let's restrict it as much as we can.
I had an interesting conversation with a guy from near there who's been going to the Masters as a spectator since 1962. His father got tickets, and they're legacy tickets, so he hasn't missed one. And he's gotten to know a lot of people who are involved in Augusta over the years. And we were talking about this very thing, where I asked the question, it's ridiculous that they don't really have the opening nine. And he was saying, he put it in a very interesting perspective. He echoed some of what you just said. Augusta make a ton of money. They don't care. Second of all is their app. They're free to, I don't know, if you download their app, you can watch as much golf as you want for free on their app, free of whatever American TV network is showing it. And Augusta really prize that relationship. And so they know that the American networks are fighting tooth and nail to get exclusive control, and Augusta will never give it to them, ever. And so far, the model seems to work, because he was going, is in the end, money talks, and Augusta make a ton of money, so they don't care. They literally don't care. And so Sky can go pleading and bleating all they want, and they're not going to get anything out of them.
Yeah, they're probably, in a way, as Fionn describes it there, they're probably right, because the way Sky approaches sport is they want to own it.
Sure.
They want to have complete control of absolutely everything. So Augusta are obviously standing firm, but do we want to go back to 4 days of just the BBC? And maybe the BBC's coverage has changed then 8 years on. I know on the highlights and what they've shown on Saturday and Sunday, it hasn't.
Sure. No, it's as bad as ever. Paul Azinger is exceptionally good, but beyond that, it's really
all that Ken Brown on the course stuff is just it's gone. It's over.
It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. Yeah, it's gone.
Can I just bring up one other thing?
Yeah.
In reference to something Nathan said a few weeks ago.
Oh yes, come on.
No. It's actually kind of an interesting one, and it's an alarming. Nathan, you were talking at a golf course in LA that you were talking about the charity status of private golf clubs.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so
this was the revisionist history podcast.
From Malcolm Gladwell, yeah.
Yeah, so exactly. And so I was asking this guy who has links to the California Chamber of Commerce. So they would have like a huge amount of say in the development of public lands and generally what's good for the state. And I was asking him about this I made a joke about like, here you have this golf course that's worth whatever it is, like $500 billion in land, but it pays like £1 million in taxes because of its charity status. And he was saying, he said, well, the only way these private golf courses will ever stay in business is precisely if they maintain their charity status. But also, more alarmingly, what he was saying is that if he was to predict a future for golf in the United States, is public courses will start closing at an ever-increasing rate because public golf courses don't really make a lot of money. Not a lot of people are taking up golf. Yeah. And so what happens is the city or the municipality that runs the golf course will go, hang on a second, we need to pay for whatever it is, sewage, health, education. And we've got this patch of land, we could sell it to a developer, and instead of making $500,000 a year, we could sell it for $300 million. And so that the future of golf is in huge threat in the United States, public golf.
Yeah.
And that the only golf courses that are going to stay open are going to be these private, exclusive golf courses that charge a ton of money, have charitable status, so pay negligible tax, and are open only to rich white guys. And it was a very I found it a very depressing prediction of the future of golf into the next 10, 15 years.
Yeah, interesting. I feel like you meet more interesting people than I do on a given week. But that's
I just happen to have a particularly good week.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, we're done. We're all here next week, I think.
Possibly.
I think I am.
I'm playing Ballyliffin on Wednesday.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll bring you a report ahead of the Dubai Duty Free Irish Open.
Okay, excellent.
I'll be on brand.
We'll hear from Ballyliffin. Fionn, we may talk to you next week, or are you somewhere?
I think I'm in the Lake District, but I'll be on Wi-Fi.
Okay, well, we'll check in on you in the Lake District. Thanks as ever for watching, much appreciated. You can get us in the usual places. At Golf Weekly OTB is generally the best place to get us, and we'll talk to you next week.
All our tips as well are being put up on YouTube, so the Pelts Academy are all up on the Off the Ball YouTube, Stephanie Meadow and the short game.
We should really have put one out today, shouldn't we?
We should have, but they're going up online. They're on our Facebook page, facebook.com/offtheball, and on youtube.com/offtheball.
Great,
so really loads of good stuff.
Well, you can check out our tips there then, instruction tips, and as opposed to betting, and there's some good stuff there. Right, we'll see you next week post Wells Fargo. Good luck.